Hello and welcome everyone to the Tosche Station, the young folks' official Star Wars podcast where we herd nerves and talk about everything in the galaxy far, far away. We're your hosts. I'm Alex Suffolk.
And I'm Jordan Decker, and we're excited to kick off our very first episode.
Yes, we are.
How we're gonna kind of be structuring this is like a three-prong kind of thing. So you got your news and rumors, which are always coming out about Star Wars because it's the biggest thing in the universe right now. Then we're gonna move into a different kind of top 10 list every time we do a show. That'll be segment 2, and then we'll do some more creative speculating in the last section. But yeah, Alex, I just wanted to start off with the episode 8 announcement.
Just
a little tease.
Just a little thing, no big deal. What's episode 8? What is that? What's that?
I don't know. Is it? I can't read Roman numerals, so I don't know what's up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the hype train leaving the station yet again, as if it ever stopped. Just Disney's keeping it cranking, keeping it chugging, and the geniuses.
Yeah.
So, Jordan, let's tell them just a little bit about the video itself.
Okay, so I saw it a couple days ago. I was a little bit late because I saw it on my phone. I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch this thing, but I want to make sure I can like pull it up on my big screen and like get all the little details that they're gonna pop in there. And then you see it. They're zooming in on that island out in Ireland, where I think it was actually that island is a real site of an old monk temple.
It's the Skellig Islands, I believe it's called. Yep.
Which, I mean, it's really awesome, that parallel between that and the Jedi. I love it. But right from the start, you see, like, all right, there's Mark Hamill. There's his contractually obligated beard, as he called it. But he's looking really stern. The camera, like, they look like they have maybe a little bit of a different tint on the lens. Like, they're going for that darker kind of look to it. And there's Rey holding out the lightsaber again, which... I don't know, Alex. I wanted to ask you a lot of questions about what you think, because that means that they're starting off episode 8 the minute episode 7 ended. And
yeah. I thought it was really interesting how they're just right from the bat. We're back on the island. It's that same shot of Rey from a different angle, but it's that same shot of Rey handing Luke the lightsaber. Now, this means one of two things. Either they reused a shot that they didn't, like a different cut that they didn't use for the end of episode 7, and they're just getting us pumped up. Because that's the ending. I remember that. Or this movie is picking up the very second from the minute that episode 7 ended. And if it is, this would be the first Star Wars movie that does that. Every other movie, there's a time gap between each one. I mean, from Phantom Menace to Attack of the Clones, there's obviously a 10-year
really stupid time jump. Phantom Menace even more useless than it already is. Yeah.
Yeah, and then between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, there's like the 3 years of the Clone Wars. Obviously, from Revenge of the Sith to A New Hope, there's like the 18, 20 years, whatever. And then so in between each one, there's a significant time gap. This would be the first one to just pick up right from the very beginning and right from the ending. Sorry, and I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I actually really like this because I watch a lot of show, like, I don't know if you've ever seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. by Marvel, but they do this mid-season gap all the time, like where they take a big break because it's a 22 episode network TV show, and whenever they do that gap, they just skip like so much time, and a lot of times it allows them to like really just gloss over important character moments that would have happened from half of the season. Like, I was like, I wanted to know like what the immediate fallout was going to be. And if after episode 7, if they just said like, okay, here's Rey meeting Luke. Okay, now they've known each other for 2 years when you start episode 8, it would have felt a little bit like I was cheated, So I'm
I feel like
really happy.
I think a lot of people want to know like literally the first words out of Luke's mouth when he sees Rey. Is it just like, hi? Is it just like, where'd you get that?
I think a meme online where he's like, is there a hand? Did you bring a hand with it?
Yeah. Although the other thing I just remembered is that every single Star Wars movie opens with a spaceship. It has the opening crawl, and then it pans down to one of the ships in space. So I'm wondering, would they break that and go right to Rey and Luke on the planet? Or would they cut to something maybe like Kylo Ren and Hux in the ship flying to Snoke, and then we cut to Ray and Luke on the planet? Do you think they'd do that, or do you think they'd go straight to the island?
I think you're really getting onto something there. I think they're gonna do. I don't think they're gonna break the space tradition because even
Mhm.
just envisioning it, you got the title crawl coming down, and then
Yeah,
like I can't picture them just cutting to like Green Island.
yeah,
It just would
yeah.
be really awkward, to be honest.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of the Star Wars movies start out with something sinister, and then they introduce you to the hero like 15, 20 minutes in.
Hmm.
Like you don't meet
Yeah,
Rey in Force Awakens until after Kylo Ren takes out that whole village, you know.
that's true.
Um, so yeah, I think that would be cool if we saw some stuff with Hux and Kylo and a lot of like
Hmm.
minor toned John Williams badass music, and then it just okay, now we're back to our heroes.
Right. That would be good. I think that's probably how they're going to do it. If they're going to keep it right after episode 7. If there is a time gap and they're just like pumping us up with this, I think they have a little bit more variability. Maybe that
Mhm.
spaceship will be like Poe and Finn flying by, maybe it'll be Phasma, and
Yeah,
then when we do cut to the island, it'll be like they've known each other for a little bit, which it might give them more options as to like what they show us between Ray and Luke. However, I do think it would kind of rob what a lot of people want to see, which is that first conversation that they have.
yeah, because
So
in the I think in the novelization and in the script for Force Awakens that they had to submit for Oscars, because you know they have to read screenplays for that.
right.
They It says a line about what Luke's thinking, and it says like he clearly recognizes who she is.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, that's kind of just confirming what a lot of people already suspected. But I mean,
Hmm.
come on, like he knows who she is. Personally, I want to see what he's gonna say about like Kylo Ren. I want to see what he's gonna say about Han. Like, does he feel guilty about how Han just got
Hmm.
killed by his old apprentice? Like, you know, these
Yeah.
are all things I just want to hear him say. Like, he just had such like a sad look on his face. There's so much that he
Hmm.
has to say. I think.
He's so broken by the time we see him at the end of 7. And
Hmm.
I want to see what he has to say about the lightsaber. That's the lightsaber he lost his hand with that just
Yeah.
flew off into the abyss. Like I feel like even more than like being like, oh, a person's found me. Like we all assume that lightsaber was destroyed. Probably most of all Luke. So
Yeah.
to see that again, that must bring about a different stir of emotions that are greater than even seeing Ray there.
Yeah, no, I mean, it definitely the lightsaber took on. We talked about that a little bit in our young folks conversation review. Like the
Hmm.
lightsaber kind of has this Excalibur thing to it now.
Yeah,
The one reason I think that he's actually seen it more recently is because Kylo Ren knows that lightsaber, and I think it's because Luke found it
that's
before
true.
he started training them all.
Oh.
I
Hmm.
think he had it around the Jedi Temple. I think he had it like hanging up on the wall, and like
Okay.
that's why Kylo was like, "That lightsaber belongs to me," rah, you know, because
Hmm.
I think he
Oh.
knows about it and he thinks it's his because he's earned it or something.
Yeah, no, I never thought of that. I always assumed he knew because like there's stories about it that Luke told him. Oh, I had a blue one. It looked like this,
Hmm.
but that's probably even more likely that Luke did have it kind of just in the background, and then maybe he's the one that gave it to Maz Kanata. We don't know.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, it is
Yeah.
in pretty good shape, and after it
Hmm.
fell that far, I don't know how anybody could have just picked it up so easily.
I know. And Bespin, where it was lost, is a giant gas planet. So I always wondered if it just kind of like flew through the planet to the other side and just, you know,
If it's like in the middle of the gravitational
yeah,
vortex, just like
you
sitting
know,
there.
you know how they always say you can like dig to China, but like if it's a gas planet, it could really just fall all the way through
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and just flying with his hand through the galaxy.
I mean, I always assumed it would go through like how Luke fell and he went into one of those little chutes. I'm assuming it went somewhere like that.
It just got caught in like the sewage.
Yeah, maybe they had so many suicides on Cloud City that they had to make like a safety net system.
That's dark.
It is pretty dark.
The dark side. The dark side of Bespin. All right. Well, speaking of going dark, the other big thing about this 8-minute trailer. So we see Ryan Johnson, the new director, in action saying, cut. He's on location at the island. What do we think about Ryan Johnson taking this, getting the baton from J.J. Abrams? What do you think,
Um,
Jordan?
I think that I'm very excited about Ryan Johnson. I haven't seen Brick, but I did see Looper, and I thought Looper was a flawed, kind of a little bit flawed in its plot because time travel never makes any sense. But just in terms of originality and execution, like what a cool looking, gritty sci-fi, like shot on film. Um, the vision of the future that he does in that movie, it really works for how Star Wars feels to me, because
Mm.
the original Star Wars was it was revolutionary, because before that you'd only seen the future depicted with chrome and clean and perfection. And like what Ryan Johnson just did in Looper was very much along the vein of like, no, if there was a real future, there would be dirt everywhere and there would be robots, but they would be used for like agriculture and all
Mhm.
that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think about it?
Well, I've never seen Brick either, and I have seen Looper. It's been a while. I don't remember too much of it, but the one thing that stuck with me from Looper is the ending. And the
Mm,
ending was dark. It wasn't afraid to be kind of depressing and end on a somber note, and it was a huge twist. It was something I wasn't expecting at all, and so I'm thinking dark twist, somber and depressing, plus Star Wars.
mm,
That's the equation for Empire Strikes Back, and that's
yes.
what Episode 8 needs to be. So I think this is actually the perfect work in the making.
Yes.
So I'm really excited with Ryan. I think it's Ryan
Rihanna.
Johnson,
Rihanna Johnson.
Rihanna Johnson.
Yeah, I
So
mean, that's important because if you look at the originals, what George Lucas did in the original 1977 Star Wars, and then bringing on a third party to direct the sequel, and write the screenplay, like with Kasdan and all of those people, I don't know. I think it's a very smart move to. Although I think JJ did a terrific job directing Episode 7, I think getting some fresh blood, getting someone with a really singular vision, it might be the answer to a lot of people's problems with Episode 7, which was that it didn't feel very unique,
mhm.
or it didn't have anything that made it like. I mean, we're going to talk about that later, but it didn't have at least visual things and planets and scenery that we hadn't seen before. I think Ryan Johnson might bring some of that to the new movie.
Yeah, I think he definitely has more of a vision, and I think there's lots of rumors and whispers that this script is like crazier. People weren't expecting the things that are happening, and they're surprised that Disney went along with what Ryan Johnson's pitching. And so I think that's really exciting. I think you're right. People kind of want a little bit more of the new. I think Episode
Yeah.
7 was really smart in that it kind of reappropriated a lot of the old and kind of stuck to formula. And because a lot of people wanted that kind of the Star Wars essence back after the prequels. But a lot of people, even George Lucas himself, his big complaint with 7 was that it's retro. It doesn't really. I always envision new things with each movie, and so I think Episode 8 will have a good amount of the new, and I think Rian Johnson is willing to bring in the new, and he's willing to bring in the dark. So
Yes.
I'm excited he's handling this.
Yeah. No, I think so too. And I think just it's an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan and following these things on the internet, because they're gonna be even smarter than they were the first time around with their promotions. Because I mean, we didn't get anything like this kind of announcement before. Like they know that we're in, they know that we're hooked, and they're just gonna
Yeah.
dribble out little bits of information and keep us speculating and excited for as long as it takes until the movie comes out. So
Like I said, hype train. Just keep going from other station to station.
yeah,
Keep
just
on chugging.
take me along. All right. So next we have some casting news. It was
Yeah, there's even more newcomers, not even just on the directing side, but also on the acting side. We got 3 actors confirmed for Episode 8.
yeah. So everyone's favorite Laura Dern from Jurassic Park fame,
Mhm.
and she was also in Wild. I don't know if you saw Wild. That was a
Yeah,
pretty
I saw Wild. I think she was Reese Witherspoon's mom in that
yeah,
one.
yeah. She was all in
Yeah,
flashbacks, but she did a really good job.
yeah, she was good.
Benicio del Toro, which everybody
Perfect.
kind of knew he was going to be in it already.
Yeah, yeah. There were speculations. Now they just kind of cemented it.
He's been kind of. It's funny because he's been being talked about in coordination with like J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot for a while, because they wanted him to be Khan in Into Darkness originally, uh,
Interesting. Okay.
which would have been, in my opinion, much better, because he's actually he looks like a person of color, unlike Benedict Cumberbatch. He's
Yes,
not like that
that's true.
whatsoever. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, he's going to be in it, after his recent turn in Sicario. He's getting a lot of acclaim for that. And there's a newcomer named Kelly Marie Tran who nobody really knows that much about. But Alex, what do you think about these three casting choices?
I think they're all great. I think Benicio del Toro is a great pick. He's got when he was the collector in Guardians of the Galaxy, he's got kind of that presence. We can already see him in sort of a sci-fi universe. I think Laura Dern, a lot of people like her. I'm excited to have more newcomers. I think episode 7 was really smart in introducing a lot of faces that we don't really know, because then we see them as their character, not so much as the actor or the actress. So I think all three of these are making me excited, and it's got me thinking: who are these people going to be in the next movie? Jordan, who do you think they're going to end up being?
Well, I know you have a more comics based, like evidence based kind of idea about who at least Laura Dern is, which
Mm-hmm.
I've totally, I've heard that before. I'm excited to hear it again, but I just think, just from what I know about Laura Dern and almost like just what she looks like and what I can envision for a sequel, I think she will be somebody in the Resistance. I think it would be such a long shot for me to believe that she'll play somebody in the Empire. I just don't see them casting
Yeah.
her for that.
Mm-hmm.
And
She's a little too warm and fuzzy for the First
or,
Order.
or I mean, then again, that's what I thought about Don Hall Gleason. Uh,
That's true.
but
They made him literally Hitler. So
yeah, no, completely. Uh, but I wrote down here in my notes. I think she kind of has a Mon Mothma vibe to her. Just when I pictured that, I was like, is she playing Mon Mothma? Obviously, she's not
Mm-hmm.
playing literally Mon Mothma, but I mean, somebody that is in Leia's inner circle that can help them
Mm-hmm.
take on the First Order. Sort of, how in Empire they don't add any main protagonists, but they add like Lando, they add
Mm-hmm.
um, they add Boba Fett in that movie. They
Right.
add more generals. They add General Riken. Like, there's just a lot more color to They fill in the dimensions
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more. So
Yeah.
you can see like, this place doesn't run itself. We still need politicians. We still need generals, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
who do you think that she is playing?
I think you said politicians, and I think that's exactly what she is. I don't know if she's going to be a part of the resistance. I think the resistance is really small, kind of ragtag. I think we've seen all of the resistance in 7. It's sort of just like, Leia's show that she runs her little gang, and we
Mm-hmm.
saw them already. I think I think Duran's going to play someone in the Republic. Um, so I think after all the plan, I think a lot of people don't know that the Republic and the Resistance are two separate entities, and
Yes.
so I think having a character who is high up in the Republic, maybe she's running the show now. Now that all 5 of the planets blew up, I think she's gonna be kind of shell shocked, and she's the one who's making the decisions. And I think through her, we can see we can get know a little bit more about the relationship between First Order, Republic, Resistance. And so I think because it'd be better to have us have the political side of it explained through character rather than through scenes of Senate meetings, like
Yes.
in some other movies.
Yeah, which
Um,
shall remain nameless.
yeah, and I think one person she could specifically be, maybe is sort of like a little Easter egg and something extra for the people who've been following the Marvel line of Star Wars comics.
Mm.
Is there's a character called Yvonne in the Princess Leia comics, and she's sort of like level-headed, a little more more of the straight man to Leia in those issues. She's a little bit more reserved, pragmatic, and so I think, and she has a history with Leia. So I think if they do say that, oh, Laura Dern is Yvonne, and now she's part of the Republic, when they bring her in, she and Leia already have sort of a history that they could play off of. Maybe they wouldn't refer to the happenings in the comics themselves, but that there's a little bit more going on, and those who've read the comics would be like, I know that, I know exactly what their history is.
Yeah.
And if you look up Yvonne from the Princess Leia comics and you put that next to a picture of Laura Dern when she was in Jurassic Park, they look a lot alike. So
Hmm.
that could be potentially what they do. But what do you think? Who do you think Del Toro is going to be?
Um, God, that is almost clear to me that he's definitely playing a bad guy.
Yeah.
I feel like they may be taking aspects from the now called the Star Wars Legends banner, but the old extended universe. Um, And what it used to be in that universe is that they had the Thrawn trilogy, and they had the big Admiral Thrawn that was like after the Empire got basically wrecked at the end of Return of the Jedi, they needed like an intense like military strategist to kind of take control of everything, and that's what Thrawn is. He's like this ominous like kind of alienish being that's in control of the Empire's fleets. And I think having Del Toro play that kind of figure would I don't know, it would add some fresh blood to the military side of the First Order in Episode 8, and
Hmm.
it would give. I mean, I know that we already have quite a few villains to get to, but yeah, I don't think I can imagine him coming on and just playing a good guy. He's just
Hmm.
that's not how Star Wars works. Star Wars is about archetypes, and they
Yeah.
don't cast people, with the exception of Dom Hall, they don't cast people complete wrong face for the role they're playing.
Uh-huh.
And Del Toro just has that presence. Like, do not mess with this guy, you know?
Yeah. Watch him be the leader of the Republic now. Just be the nicest dude. Prove us all wrong.
Honestly, he could. I just as long as he has a powerful role. That's all I think they're gonna
Yeah.
do, you know?
Yeah, and no, I agree. I think he does have more of like a kind of a sinister presence. I mean, every time I see him, I just see Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. So
Okay.
I see that darkness in him, and so I think he will also be affiliated with the First Order in some way, and maybe he could be another Knight of Ren. Like I remember back in our discussion article on the Young Folks, I said that Kylo Ren is the last of the Knight of Ren.
Right.
Actually, watching it again, looking at the script for the movie, Snoke says he's the master, not the last of. So that kind of implies the other Knights of Ren are still running around. So maybe he's like the other head of the Knights. So he's sort of like an older, more grizzled. He is a warrior type. He just doesn't use the Force. That's why maybe Kylo has another rival with him. I think that could be really cool.
That would be very cool.
I think if he's not affiliated with the First Order, maybe he's this new trilogy's version of like a Jabba, like a crime lord figure.
Okay.
Sort of like Fringe that maybe Poe and Finn run into. They're like running around the Outer Rim. So I think there's lots of things they can do with him, but I'm putting my money on that he's being bad.
Yes. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
put my money there too. And I mean, just quickly going back to the point about Laura Dern and who she's playing, I think like having a new character in, I mean, on the Empire and on the Rebel side, but having a new character specifically to explain more of the politics of where the universe is at this point
Mhm.
is great, because a lot of people went away from Force Awakens confused. They're like, how did the First Order get started? How did
Mhm.
the Resistance even become a thing? Like, I thought the Rebellion was in control after Return of the Jedi. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I think having both. I think having a new person that is there to explain politics in the First Order, and somebody to say like, hey, by the way, once the rebellion got destroyed, they used to be in control, and now they're scavenging for resources. Just having a few more lines there to sprinkle in the politics that the prequels kind of
Mhm.
overdid, and just give us a little bit more information about the universe that we're in now.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. And then so the last person that they've confirmed episode 8 is a newcomer, Kelly Marie Tran.
Mm.
Who do you think she's gonna be?
Okay, so this is something that is entirely speculation. I've heard it around a few places, but um, I I kind of have to backtrack. I kind of am a believer in the fact that, or the theory that Rey is Obi-Wan's granddaughter, um, which we can always talk about at some point in the future. That's such a big question, but um, I think that the only thing that really goes against that theory is that, Star Wars is supposed to be about the Skywalker line, and if our main character is not a Skywalker and the only other Skywalker is Kylo Ren, then we're not going to get any more Skywalkers. No, he's not going to have any babies. So the franchise
Well,
cannot continue. I think that possibly, it's just a random thought. The amount of time that Leia was not with Han was substantial enough where she could have had another child, which
interesting.
becomes the link to another trilogy in the future. But that's just, that requires a lot of things to be true before that's who she
Hmm.
is. It's just,
That's that real long term thinking.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
there's probably some Disney exec who's had the exact same thought. So
Oh, I'm
I
sure there is. This is
wouldn't be
public
su-
knowledge.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they go.
What
I
about
I
you?
pers I think she's going to be a potential love interest for John Boyega, Finn, John Boyega's character.
Mhm.
There are rumors that John Boyega was doing some chemistry reads with various actresses. I don't know if it's for this part. I don't know if it's for a separate part. There's been a lot of different names thrown around. They're not. The rumors are completely reputable either. But
Right.
either way, if we are assuming that they are reputable, then and he's doing chemistry reads, why else would you do a chemistry read other than potential love interest, relationship there?
Hmm.
So, and I think having another love interest for Finn there, I think that would complicate the sort of the things that they've suggested between Finn and Ray.
Hmm.
So I think that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think so too. I would rather they not go for a love triangle because I'm a little bit tired of those. But um,
Hmm.
if that's the direction they went, I'd have confidence that they'd handle it in a classy enough way, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this isn't Twilight we're dealing with here.
Yeah. Yeah. God help us if it did.
So,
All right.
Alex, before
Mm-hmm.
we get episode 8, we're getting this little independent film called Rogue One, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And
What's that? Is there a trailer for that? Is there a trailer for Rogue One? I
you
don't
know
know. I've
what?
heard of that.
There's not a trailer for Rogue One, and a lot of people are wondering why something didn't come out during the Super Bowl because
That
the movie
was
is
like
coming
the
out.
reason I watched the Super Bowl was for that trailer.
Yeah, I mean, us Star Wars nerds, like, we're not known to sit through entire games of football on TV, but I
Yeah.
mean, I
I
feel you
I
on that.
want
Why do you think they didn't show it?
I wanted Rogue One trailer. I got Puppy Monkey Baby.
I'm so sorry
Um,
for your loss.
I swear, but yeah, I don't know when they're going to drop it. I have some ideas. I think it'd be smart to drop it with Captain America: Civil War. I think that's the other
Yes,
like Disney's other big property. So I think dropping it around then
some
would be an
Disney
obvious
synergy
move.
going on there.
Yeah, exactly. They're all intertwined, all about the money. I think they could drop it for Comic Con. That'd be a huge turnout. That'd be a lot. That'd be a big audience. I think they could also hold it until D23. That might be a bit late. Usually they hold that in August. So that might be pushing it, but
Mhm.
maybe just maybe they're holding on and letting sort of the secrecy build in their favor. But so yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those three dates. What I'm also excited for Rogue One is that there's rumors of other characters from the original trilogy making an appearance in Rogue
Right.
One. So there's rumors that Darth Vader will show up. There's even thinner rumors that Boba Fett would show up, and we're hearing whispers that the young Han Solo is going to show up.
Yes.
So what do we think about those three?
Um, well, on Boba Fett and Vader, I think when I heard the Boba Fett rumor, I thought, great, maybe Boba Fett will finally do something other than show up, say that he's gonna kill people, and then fall like really jokingly into the Sarlacc pit and get eaten while screaming like a little girl. Like I honestly, I've never understood why Boba Fett has the air of like coolness around him that people attach, other than
Okay.
how good his costume design is and like some
Uh,
books.
okay, not this episode. Another episode. I will school you in why Boba Fett is the coolest. So just hold on to that.
I you might be surprised who you're talking to because I did read a fair amount of those Boba Fett series books about his origins, um,
Hmm.
and I think those what was the GameCube game with him? Did you ever play
Oh,
that?
I think Bounty Hunter. I think you played
Yeah.
as Django for that one though. You were
Okay.
Boba's dad.
Right. Right. I I think there's a lot of really cool things that they totally do with him in the expanded universe. Just in the movies, I think he hasn't done a whole lot, and I think if he was in Rogue One, the redeeming factor of it could be, hey, he's finally gonna maybe be a formidable force to these people. Because if the main characters of Rogue One are not Jedi's, which we have no reason to believe they are, then Boba Fett is a more adequate threat for them. I think like they don't need
Totally.
a Sith Lord to necessarily be intimidating to them. They like Boba Fett's like could be a scary villain for them, even, you know?
Yeah, I think this one's going to have a lot more blasters and starfighters than any kind of force or lightsaber usage. And I totally agree. I think Boba Fett would be a perfect choice for this movie. There's they haven't confirmed what the third anthology Star Wars anthology movie is going to be. After Rogue One, Han Solo, there's going to be a third one. And there's lots of rumors from day one that it's going to be Boba Fett, a Boba Fett movie.
Yeah, I've
And
heard two. I've heard Obi-Wan movie and Boba Fett movie. Those are the two.
yeah, I think it's going to be between one of those two. And I think, like you said, a lot of people they kind of don't understand the fascination of Boba Fett. I think a lot of newer fans don't get it, and so I think if they are going to have a Boba Fett movie, what better way to reintroduce a lot of people and to show them, kicking ass, taking names, than in this movie. And I think it'd be really cool, in Empire Strikes Back, the thing that Vader says to Boba Fett is no disintegrations. So what if in Rogue One, at some point, Boba Fett just completely disintegrates one of the guys? It's a big emotional moment, and then now we know why Vader's telling him, don't do this, because he remembers from Rogue One when he disintegrated someone. So I think
that would be so cool, because it would create a more long-term payoff that like retroactively makes that line more funny.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Boba Fett is a perfect fit for this movie. What do you think about Darth Vader?
Darth Vader. So yeah, if I was gonna cast it and make Boba Fett more of a main role in this movie, I would make Vader like a one scene kind of role, because I think that if we're talking about making a Rogue One movie about the rebellion soldiers on the ground, that are scrounging for resources and are just people with guns, in the Star Wars universe, I think that it would make so much sense to have Vader be like this god to them. Like if they're fighting some battle in like the Hoth base, and you see from one of their perspectives Vader coming in and just like wiping out an entire room of soldiers, and all you hear is him breathing. And he doesn't say anything. And even the way they shoot it, because it's going to be filmed like such of a war documentary, that you get like, he even looks like so towering because he's 6'4" or whatever he is. I think number one, that would allow Vader to show up and not be voiced by James Earl Jones. You could just get some big guy to be in the costume and be intimidating. And two, it would give Vader that mystery that he should have to the infantry. Because I just read the book Lost Stars, which is the extended universe, the new Journey to Force Awakens. But did you read that one? I forgot to ask.
I haven't gotten to that one yet. No.
Okay. I mean, I definitely recommend it if you're interested in the more like the foot soldier perspective, because that's how they treat Vader in that series, and honestly all the other characters too. But they all speak in sort of like hushed tones about like oh my god, I hear Darth Vader's coming to like the Inflictor, like he's gonna come on the Star Destroyer today, like make sure you're on your best behavior. And they talk about just like how chilling his presence is when he walks into a room. I think this would be such a cool opportunity to show that side of it. Yeah, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I really hated about the prequels more than anything else is how they retroactively make Darth Vader look less cool. Like the last thing we saw Darth Vader do was no.
No, that's so not true, Alex. He also stood there with his arms folded, watching people build the Death Star.
Okay, you're right. You're right. He harumphed. You're right. Okay, I stand corrected. But to have him back in this movie doing what he does best, which is just pulling all the strings, being that sort of dark, like mythic figure that everyone's afraid of. I mean, if you again to go back to the Marvel comics, if you read the Darth Vader comics, he just does so much stuff. He takes on entire armies like single-handedly. There's a reason why he's the most feared person in the galaxy, and so. And we forget that because we watch the even with the original movies, we see it through the lens of Luke Skywalker, and from Empire on, he's seeing them as just like my dad, this guy that can be saved. But Rogue One, like you said, is from that foot soldier perspective. So if we're with them and we see Darth Vader, it's probably going to be the most terrifying we see him if he does show up.
Yeah, no, I mean, like. I don't even know if do you remember that old concept art, the Ralph McQuarrie one, where it's Darth Vader has the more samurai helmet to him, and he's like flaring his face at this guy who's just on the ground, terrified of him. Like, that. If that was what Rogue One, that scene was in just a nutshell, I would be completely thrilled with that.
I'm down. However, who I'm not down for is Han Solo showing up in Rogue One. I think.
Okay, Why? Tell us why.
Uh, well, for one thing, Rogue One's supposed to take place like right before A New Hope because it's supposed to be about the stealing of the Death Star plans.
Mhm.
So I think Han Solo would be the same age as he is in A New Hope, not young. So I think that'd be just weird to see anyone other than Harrison Ford in that particular part of the Star
Oh,
Wars
come on, we
timeline.
could cast Chris Pratt. Said everybody stupidly to
No,
themselves.
no, no. I mean, Han Solo movie shouldn't happen in general, but another episode.
Yes.
Um, and I think it might be a little too soon. I don't like. They're still in the cast. They're still trying to decide who should be young Han Solo. So I think it'd be kind of rushed to have him just
Not Chris
not.
Pratt.
I think it'd be rushed to have his appearance. I don't think whoever they do pick, I don't think they have enough time to really get into the role.
No.
So I think it'd just be to force it and to get us pumped up for the next one. I think, and in a broader sense, I don't like it. I prefer to think if Han Solo is completely detached from the rebellion until the events of A New Hope. So that if he like interacts and helps out the Rogue One guys, I feel like that kind of ruins it. So I don't want. So I'm saying yes.
Out the punch from when he saves the day at the end of A New Hope.
Exactly. So I'm saying yes, Darth Vader. Big yes, Boba Fett. Hell no, Han Solo.
Cool. I'm with you on those. Well, all right. We've covered a lot of news. There will certainly be more coming soon. But are you cool if we jump right into the list?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. So how I'm gonna handle this is I'm gonna say this list. I actually wrote this list.
You can find it at the Young Folks, the website that we all know and love.
We post the video on here. But so I'm gonna say them in order, and I'm just gonna ask you. We're just gonna zoom through. I'm gonna say like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Are you down?
I'm down. Yep.
Okay. So we're gonna start with number 10. So this list, first of all, just to make sure you guys know, is how like the top 10 ways that Force Awakens is different than A New Hope, because so much of people's criticisms of Force Awakens was that it was redundant, it was a copy. J.J. Abrams is a hack. He doesn't have any creativity, etc., etc. So this is my list. So I'm going to start number 10. In Force Awakens, everybody has a sense of humor. You see it in Poe Dameron from the first time. He says, like, who talks first? I talk first, you talk first. Like, Finn bringing that sort of awkward modern timing to his comedy. Rey is funny with how overconfident she is. Han and Chewie are just hilarious in how sarcastic they've always been to each other. And the main standout for me was Kylo Ren, because even him, he even gets comedic moments. Like, he gets him freaking out, like slashing his MacBook computer in his little private room or whatever, and then the stormtroopers walk down the hallway and they're like, "No, I'm not gonna."
Nope.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think you can say that about honestly any other Star Wars movies that have that kind of humor, even with the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what do you think of that?
Well, I was so relieved that there was so much good natural humor in this movie because the prequels were there's another thing the prequels are missing, and it's like there are jokes in the prequels, but they don't hit. They feel so forced. It's like it was like an afterthought for George Lucas. Like, oh yeah, the originals also had humor. Let me just have this joke. Oh yeah, Obi-Wan and Anakin are supposed to be like best buddies. Let's have them have this quip, and it just nobody's into it. It's not natural. So to have all this natural humor again was really refreshing. It was really appreciated. I laughed like almost this entire movie. I mean, BB-8 with that little thumbs up, classic. It's everyone. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good. And like you said, I think it's great that Kylo also has humor. I remember I came across a thread on the Star Wars subreddit, and someone pointed out that Kylo's humor is a lot like Leia's. You know, it's got kind of like that cutting wit, and the kind of just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, when he's like. He like backsasses, Max von Sydow's character. It's like, you can't deny your family. You're so right. You know?
Oh my God.
And then like
anything else? You know?
Yeah. It's perfect. Just yeah. So I think that not only is it good for the audience, and it shows that he's, it cements the idea that he's a person, not just, this like evil dark lord. A lot of people wanted him to be like Darth Maul, just like a devil. And I'm glad
we'll get to that later in the list too.
Yeah. I'm glad that he's a person. And so, and I'm glad that it further cements his relationship to Leia. So I think that's great.
Totally. All right. Number 9, diversity in casting. I mean, this has been talked about to death. We don't need to talk about this too much, but I mean, you got several people of color. You got Lupita Nyong'o. You've got Oscar Isaac, and who I believe is of Guatemalan descent. Um,
Yeah, he's Latino. I forget which exact.
yeah.
Uh,
And I mean, having the main Finn obviously, but then having the main character be a female and just like the what I've seen that do for a new generation of Star Wars fans and giving them an icon to look up to. I mean, we
mhm.
will also link to this video, the Young Folks article about what Rey means to the different writers for our site. You know, because
Yes.
the importance of that cannot be overstated.
Hmm. And yeah, I really appreciated the diversity in the casting because one of the reasons why I think Star Wars is so great and why it can pull billions of dollars from all over the world
Mm,
is because it's so universal. These are themes that it's rooted in myth, and so these are the kind of stories that we've been telling since humanity could tell stories from
yes.
all over the world. And I think having that diverse cast really reinforces that notion, and it's a reflection of how Star Wars is for everyone. And I think that it's going to continue. The newcomer that we talked about, Kelly Tran,
Mm,
she's Asian American, and so I think if she is going to be a love interest for Finn, if she's going to be a bigger character in the movie, I think that's even more representation. It's just good things all around.
totally. All right, number 8, throwing it at you. Poe Dameron is not Han Solo. And stop saying he's
Mhm.
Han Solo because, in my opinion, what I wrote on my list, he is a confident and he's law abiding. He's law abiding, but he's also a badass. And I think Han
Mhm.
Solo is cool and we all love him, but he does that by breaking the law and being a
Mhm.
smuggler. And I think to call those two characters just because they both have that air of confidence, to call them the same is selling Poe Dameron a little bit short because he does that all by being part of the resistance and by being just a pilot and just like a really cool person. Like he's basically what I said in the article. He's basically Princess Leia's like 007. Like he goes and just does stuff for her that she needs done, you know?
Yeah. No, the way I see it, Han Solo was a rogue. Poe Dameron, badass cop.
Mm, there you go.
And the thing I really liked about Poe is that he was really like optimistic and hyped. Like when he tells Finn, "You need a pilot. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do it." He like gets you pumped up, you know. Like he's excited. He's confident. He's like cool. Like we love Han Solo, but like especially in A New Hope, he's cynical as hell.
Yeah.
He's like fancy religions, whatever with that kid. You just need a
Mm.
gun. You know what I'm saying? So I do think that that further diversifies them. They do both bring charisma to the table, but the charisma that comes from different places.
Yes. So stop saying they're the same person. Okay. Rivalry between villains. That's number 7. So I said that it's just great because you got Kylo Ren and General Hux basically both trying to prove to Snoke that they are cooler than the other child, and they are kind of ratting on the other constantly. Like
Uh,
whenever Kylo Ren is having trouble getting the droid, or
yeah,
they're both failing in their duties, they like to tell on the other to Snoke, and they always do this where they say it. They're like, "He did this," and then they look over at Snoke like, "Did you see?
yep.
That's right. Yeah, he
No,
did that."
I love that scene. The first scene, like Kylo with his helmet off, and he's like, "She's strong with the Force. She doesn't know it, but she's powerful." And he's like complaining to mom, and the other older brother
Yeah.
walks in, just like, "Yeah," and he gave up the droid. Mom,
Mhm.
see what happened?
And
Yeah.
even Adam Driver's expression when he hears Hux walking in and he doesn't have his mask on, he feels like he's
Hmm.
naked, kind of like just the way he
Yeah.
looks.
He like looks down at his feet like like a kid, like getting tattled on.
Yeah, really, really great subtle acting there.
Hmm.
Um, so we talked about this a little bit already, but my number 6 is Kylo Ren is not Darth Vader. Kylo Ren is everything that Darth Vader is not. Darth Vader is confident. He's been doing this job for upwards of 20 years. He is intimidating. He kills people with like an honorable, I mean, it's relative, but an honorable force choke and just like wipes them out. But Kylo Ren, from the minute he takes off his mask when Rey asks him to, he's doesn't have any scars on his face. He is
Yet.
trying to he's trying to peacock and make himself look tougher than he really is.
Hmm.
His anger bursts out in really petty ways.
Yep.
And he honestly just seems like he is trying to emulate Darth Vader. And I think the
Hmm.
the biggest gripe I have with people saying that he is Darth Vader is that J.J. Abrams and Kasdan and Michael Arndt, all the people that wrote this movie, they based his character off of trying to be a Darth Vader fanboy. They know that that's what he's trying to do. So you can't accuse the writers of making him like a copy if that's part of the story of who he is, you know?
Mhm. Totally. And oh, did I lose you? Are we good?
Are you there?
Internet
Did you hear
connection
that?
good? Yeah, I got that. Sorry, technical difficulty, folks.
Yeah.
What I love about Kylo Ren is just he's so unstable, and that's reflected in even his lightsaber. It's cracked and fizzly. It's not clean cut. And one of my favorite lines to Kylo Ren is from Han Solo, and he says, "Take that mask off." And Kylo Ren's like, "Why? Why do I need to do that?" And Han Solo says, "Because you don't need it."
Yes.
And it's not just saying like, oh, like I want to see my kid. It's it gets to his character, just like you don't need the mask. Like Darth Vader needed it to stay alive. It was part of who he was. Kylo Ren dons the mask by choice, not necessity, and that's kind of what separates him from. And again, choice versus necessity. Anakin joined the dark side by what he perceived to be the necessity of saving Padme, and Kylo Ren chose the dark side by choice of wanting to be stronger. So I do think they're thematically parallel. Obviously they struggle both sides. They both get the scar. They're both Skywalkers, but they're completely different people. And so I think there's a good balance between their similarities and their differences.
Yeah, totally. All right, so we're getting a little low on time, so we got to zoom through these.
Yeah, we got to zoom through these. We'll probably have to cut the discussion bit. We'll save that for the next episode. Stay tuned for that. Let's get through this list.
All right, number 5. You got a stormtrooper's perspective. From the first scene of the movie with the raid on the Jakku village, you're seeing Finn in the mask, and you see his friend get killed, and then wipes the blood on Finn's helmet, which actually, coincidentally, first time you ever see blood in Star Wars on a stormtrooper or any soldier. It's really interesting the way that played out. But yeah, I mean, I just think it was so cool how we got the perspective of somebody defecting from the Empire, and it fills the universe full of more dimension. So what do you think?
I think that Finn was my favorite too, and I think going back to, or was my favorite of the new characters in this movie, and I think going back to like kind of what we said about Kylo Ren making the choice to be evil, Finn was the one who made the choice to be good.
Yes.
And I think it's that decision that gives him his identity. Because the thing about stormtroopers is that they all kind of blend together. They're they're given numbers. They're not names. They have no identities. They're just like these faceless masses, these drones. And because they're blindly following. They're kind of like zombies in a way. They're just kind of these mobs that go where they're told. But Finn decides to do the right thing. And by doing that, that's what gives him his name. That's what gives him his purpose. And I think that's kind of a beautiful thing, that it's through the decision to do the right thing that sets you apart as a person and not just a part of the mob.
Wow. That is some powerful stuff. I'm with you on that.
Speaking of power, number 4.
Number 4. You got Rey. You have an empowered female protagonist as the lead of a Star Wars movie. And that is something that we hadn't had before, and I'll just combine it with number 3 because they're very connected. But she's possibly like has dormant powers that she doesn't know about. Like in my opinion, she's clearly used the Force and a lightsaber before because she's so adept at using them. She is very skilled at the Jedi mind trick after she attempts it a few times, and just having all this depth and history to her character, being stranded on Jakku. And the more we're going to learn about her in the future, can't wait to see where her character goes. And I'm thrilled that she's in this trilogy.
Yep, me too. I love Rey. She's not a Mary Sue. I wrote another article for the young folks detailing how she is not. You can check that out. We can discuss that more in detail in another episode. Oh, audio cut out. I'll keep talking while we figure that out. So I'm also at first I was not a fan of the sleeper agent theory because it involves memory wipe and stuff. The more I think about it, the more I think it has connections to the force back, as we're calling it, which is the lightsaber. Maybe she was there, but she saw Kylo in the dark. The rain was killing all the people. Maybe she was there when she saw Luke touch R2D2. So I think the sleeper cell idea is very plausible, and I think it'd be something you can bring about the next movie that separate some types of movies from Empire Strikes Back. So I think that's great. They want to curious to have this female character hero role. I'm seeing so many like little girls in Rey costumes pretending to be a hero, and that's great. Because remember when I was a boy, I got to pretend that I was Luke, pretend to be the hero, and all the girls, they didn't really have that option. They could pretend to be Leia, and she's awesome, she's badass, but she's not the hero. So I think having a female hero that all little girls can look up to and pretend to be and empower themselves through Rey is another great thing. Another reason why this movie is so great. Do we have your audio back? I can hear you. You're quiet, but we can hear you.
How about now?
Perfect. A little bit more.
Okay.
All right, we're good. We're good, people.
Okay, I'm sorry. That was really strange.
It's all good.
Okay, so number 2, I have that Force Awakens is not a movie that ends with a happy ending, and that's something that A New Hope really did, because it didn't go that it was going to be part of a trilogy. A New Hope was made in more of a vacuum, like we're just going to make this movie and see what happens. But Force Awakens exists in a world where Star Wars is already so known and so beloved that we're going to get so many more of these movies. We're going to have a trilogy, and they can end with a cliffhanger that actually takes place on a cliff. Haha. And have it be paying and moving towards a more long-term payoff for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think this movie knew from the get-go that it's the introduction to an even bigger story. It's not standalone, so some people think it's a bit weaker, like the ending's not as satisfying, but I think that's intentional. I think this movie knew that it's just an introduction to an even bigger and even crazier story. It got me excited for the next one. I think that was the perfect thing it needed to do.
Yeah, I agree. And along that vein, my number 1 was simply the goal of Force Awakens, which is clear from the minute that the movie starts and is there all the way until the end when Rey encounters Luke. And that's the goal, is just find Luke, find this Jedi Master, and he's going to help us. And that's something that I feel like A New Hope was much more sort of find goals as we go, kind of like Luke didn't know that he was going to leave until his parents or his aunt and uncle died, and then he joins the rebellion and wants to just find Leia. It's basically like he's going from task to task, and almost accidentally joins the rebellion and everything like that. But I just feel like there was a lot more of a through line in Force Awakens about who the rebellion and who the First Order were all trying to find, and I just thought that was it played on also the audience's expectations of when are we going to see Mark Hamill? When are we going to see our old favorite Jedi back again? Because you're on the edge of your seat, like, when's he going to show up? When's he going to show up? Is that him? Is that him in the background? Whatever. But when he finally comes at the end, we talked about the change in your attitude about or your expectations about what he's going to look like and what he's going to be is brilliant, because you think he's going to be a master, and when you finally find him, he's so broken by what's happened that it's just it's a great transformation that you don't even see him the whole movie, but you feel that he's going to be less and less great every time you hear a sentence about him.
Yeah, I remember watching Force Awakens for the first time. As soon as the opening crawl comes up, the first sentence, Luke Skywalker has vanished. And right then I knew, okay, this is what the story is going to be about. He's still like one of the driving factors of the story, but he's not a part of this movie. And I knew just what this movie was doing. I knew he's probably going to show up in the end. He's almost like the MacGuffin at that point. Luke Skywalker has gone from the hero to the MacGuffin. And I thought it was really smart for the movie to do that. I knew where it was going, and I liked it. And I'm so glad he wasn't evil. I'm so glad he wasn't evil. There's so many articles. Is Luke Kylo Ren? Is Luke
No,
Snoke?
he's too
Just have
fat
you
to be Kylo Ren.
just have you seen Return of the Jedi, people? Did you not see the end of his arc? I just but yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad that Luke was the end game. I'm glad this movie ended where it did.
Yeah, I'm totally glad too.
Hmm.
And with that, you have my top 10. We'll be getting a lot of top 10s coming up in future episodes, including some written by Alex Suffolk. Aren't you going to write
Hmm.
some?
Yep, I got some. I also have one. We were bashing the prequels, but I have a 10 list about 10 things in the prequels that were actually good. So we can bring that up and have more of a happy discussion about the prequels. But I think for now, that about wraps up our time. We'll hold the discussion about episode 8, what we think is going to happen for another episode. So everybody tune in for that.
Hmm.
Jordan, have any other ending words as we wrap this up?
I just want to say thanks to anybody who's listening, and we will be improving on this format in the future. And overall, we're just super excited to finally get a chance to make this podcast happen and bring you some good Star Wars news and some really nerdy discussion. So,
Yep, all the same here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tune in next time. And until then, may the force be with you.
may the force be with you. See you later.